Awesome. These are Toby and Heidi from the channel Crypto Tips, over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. They are my personal clients for a few years. We helped them move to Dubai and get their residency set up there. Now they're in Indonesia. They travel all over the world, and they also renounced their US citizenship. Obviously, their channel is called Crypto Tips, so they know everything about crypto and have been up and down and up and down through bear market and bull market. So let's discuss. Mainly, at first, I want to touch on crypto control, crypto confiscations, crypto negative regulations that are going to come specifically to Europe as well as to the United States. Obviously, US citizens, they're controlled no matter what. They can't even get a Binance account or most accounts around the world. But how do you see the future of crypto regulation, crypto control for personal citizens, not just companies or large entities?
Wow, there's going to be a lot coming down the pike just because, you have BlackRock essentially being ushered in as the savior, like, oh, it's going to be up only now. And yeah, they're going to make sure that it's more comfortable, super easy to invest in their ETFs. So they're really going to stop, they're going to put a barrier of entry along with a lot of other things. But like for the ease of crypto, like buying on an exchange or whatever and holding it into your, having your own keys. So that's one thing that they hate. They do not want you to hold your own keys, and they want you to invest with BlackRock. See, a lot of people like, oh, BlackRock's, they're going to encourage, what do you call it? Adoption. But in reality, they're encouraging people to go with BlackRock.
They're adopting BlackRock, not Bitcoin.
So, and that's the thing that's happening right now. And it's really scary seeing all these huge influencers, like people with hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, not understanding that they are literally ushering in their demise. So crazy stuff. But you know what? Obviously, for me, I don't give a crap. The reason why I got into crypto, because I don't trust government. I don't trust BlackRock. I trust myself with my own money, and don't trust anybody else with that. So yeah, and very few people actually think that way anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we really like to focus on why crypto was created. And the beautiful thing about crypto is that it functions just fine without regulators controlling it, without any kind of monitoring or reporting to governments, because that's what blockchain technology grants us. It's like publicly auditable, publicly verifiable transactions. And so in that way, it like self-regulates is what it does. And the SEC has done nothing to protect anyone from scams or whatever, which is always going to happen in crypto. But the whole concept and ethos of the creation of crypto is sovereignty, autonomy, everything being transparent, but also pseudo-anonymous. So you can be as private as you want to be if you take certain precautions. But now, for so many years when crypto was first getting recognized publicly, there was a lot of non-clarity of regulations. And so for a long time, different governments were being labeled as crypto friendly if they just issued any kind of decision based on how they're going to be viewing cryptocurrencies. And now, as that's evolving, it's like being crypto friendly now is like being, how much information are they going to require you to report about your cryptocurrency activities? And the thing about blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies is that you can just as easily be private with it as you can be susceptible to being tracked very easily through the use of blockchain technology. So with regulators stepping in and everyone being happy about that, they think it's like, now you're going to get governmental approval for your use of cryptocurrencies. But that really means with regulations, they're going to require you to disclose every movement, most likely in the future. It's just going to get more and more crazy. Disclose everything that all of your activities in cryptocurrencies. And that's not just, for people who are this gets labeled so much for like, oh, you're a tax evader if you don't want to report everything. But really, it also makes you vulnerable to things like hackers as well, because the more information on you, the more patterns that you reveal that they can take advantage of, they will. So there's lots of reasons to protect your privacy online and with your activities in cryptocurrencies, especially because if you are storing it yourself, that responsibility is on yourself to keep it safe. And that means it's basically you against a hacker. And, so whenever there's a government or regulator saying, oh, this is to protect you by making yourself vulnerable, by giving us your information, that's just plain false. So yeah, watch out for regulations.
Great point there about how government regulations make you more vulnerable to hackers, because for example, with Bybit, such a huge company, they had such a strong hacker attack. The same could happen with a government that has crypto information about you. So
Absolutely.
for example, because now we were talking about this, like later this year, there's going to be even larger crypto automatic information sharing from many countries. For example, in the EU, you will have to report actually you won't even have to report. It's going to be auto-reported to your government if you make a transaction to another wallet outside of your account. So for example, if you are a French citizen or Swedish or anything in the EU and you make a transaction out of your account, they're going to know which wallet you made it to, and they're going to know when you made it, how much money you have in there, and that's going to be in the hands of the government. And obviously the government is not the best at keeping information secure. So then the hacker can go in and attack somehow. Maybe the government start doing crypto custody, so then hackers can even take them. Like if the owner of Bybit made a mistake sending $1 billion in crypto, imagine what a government that doesn't care. It's not their funds, right? It's some guy, oh, whatever, I need to sign this wallet. Yeah, it's the correct wallet, whatever. I don't care. It's not my money. I'm just going to get fired. I don't care. Versus the CEO of Bybit, if that can happen to him, it can happen to the government of France, for example. So it's quite scary. You're right. I didn't even think about that, how hackers can actually steal information from the government directly. So it might be a horrible future.
Yeah, databases get hacked all the time. That's how identity theft has become so bad as it is, because there's online websites, companies online that are required to collect information on their customers, and because of government regulations, and then no one's going to care as much about your information as you. And so to assume that some random third party is going to try their best, protect it as if it was their own, that's never going to happen. That's why we have databases being hacked all the time. So yeah, that's unfortunate.
And when it comes to, you said the crypto friendliness of a country is how much regulation they have. I like to think of it of how much are they going to take my money? How much are they going to accept my money and not make me cash it out to a bank account? And what am I going to be able to do with that money? So in my personal opinion, the crypto friendliest country in the world right now is El Salvador, obviously, in my opinion, because everything a citizen or a person needs in a country, you can do it with crypto. You want to buy land, you do it with crypto. You want to be a citizen of the country and get their passport, you do it with crypto, and it's not taxed at all. And the government actively pushes it. They don't have their own coin. They do have their own wallet, which I don't like to use government wallets, but in my opinion, that would be the ultimate kind of crypto-friendly meter for a country. Yeah. In your opinion, what are the most crypto-friendly countries? Because I know you spent time in Portugal. You're looking to get European citizenship, or obviously through one of these golden visa investment programs. And you also spend time pretty much all over the world. So what are the best crypto-friendly countries, you would say?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It depends on what they allow you to use crypto for, and I totally agree. El Salvador is definitely, I'd say, the top one, if not top two. The other one that comes to mind is Switzerland, just because of the consistency of the regulations. It hasn't changed, and they're also very specific. They are very specific in how they regulate different types of cryptocurrencies. So Switzerland, you're going to be probably reporting everything. That's just how that country is. But there's not a lot of gray area. So exactly where you stand there, at least. Portugal also is crypto friendly in that for tax purposes, if you're holding it for at least a year, it's tax free.
Your personal tax.
For individuals, yes, for individuals, not for companies. But in that way, you can, if you want to, cash out into a bank tax-free and have that as like reportable income to be used in investments other places around the world if you need to. But also, that's, Portugal hasn't really acknowledged crypto. That's only a few years old. This year is actually the first year where people are required to be reporting their crypto trades, even though it's tax-free. You still have to be reporting it if you're cashing out. Another one I was going to ask your opinion too, because you have much more experience in the UAE and banking wise than we do, because that one's always being pushed as being crypto friendly. Certainly there's like conferences almost every weekend for cryptocurrencies in Dubai. Do you consider the UAE to be super crypto friendly? I'm like reversing the interview a little bit right here.
It's a mix because I consider it crypto friendly for tax and for cashing out. Now I need to be very careful how I say this. I actually got a notice from the land department to not say this, or to be very careful how I say it. But you can exchange your crypto for property and then technically buy property with crypto in the UAE. So you could basically take, let's say, 5 million that you have in crypto and then go and buy a property for 5 million. And now it's your property. You didn't need to cash out your money to a bank. Absolutely nothing. So that makes it extremely crypto friendly. And also, you can pay zero taxes on all your crypto. So short-term trades, long-term trades. The only time when they can actually tax you on personal crypto is if you're making more than 5 to 10 trades a day. That would make you a full-time trader, and they would only charge you 9%, which anyway is very low.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So in terms of crypto friendliness for tax and for cashing out, yes, UAE is obviously one of the top. I mention them all the time. You have residency in UAE. And when it comes to the other things that you can do with crypto, like cash it out, like for example, get citizenship through crypto, anything like that, that's where it lacks. So that's why I put El Salvador a little bit over, because you can't get citizenship unless you're an ultra high net worth individual. And you also can't cash out large amounts to a bank. You can cash out small amounts. You need to be careful which bank you use. So if you don't want to deal with banks at all, like some people just don't want to have bank accounts. I have some clients like this. They have one bank, they have $1,000 on it. Everything else they do with crypto. They buy flight tickets with crypto. They don't want to touch banks. Yeah. For those people, Dubai is the perfect place. They're just temporary there. They buy property with crypto. They cash it out to cash. They don't pay taxes on it. Yes, it's the best country in the world for them. So in my opinion, one of the best places. The only problem is that it has a ceiling on what you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you? What are your opinions on crypto-friendly places?
I mean, I really like Portugal just because like, we cashed out a little bit and we're able to buy property around the world, and it's tax-free because I held it up for over a year. And it's like, I mean, people can say all they want about the US being so crypto friendly, but you know what? I'm paying zero taxes, bro. Like, you don't beat that. Sorry. That's your taxes is stealing your time and energy, and Portugal doesn't do that for you, and at least with crypto. So I'm fine with that. And if it changes, then it changes, then we'll figure something else out. So as long as you're flexible, you can, you can legally avoid paying taxes, which is, or at least income tax.
Another, I was going to say about El Salvador, just briefly, how you're saying, it's really backed by the government. It's really being supported, as I think they had to reverse the status of legal tender to like appease the IMF, but they didn't stop buying Bitcoin. Like the IMF was saying, like, you need to stop putting Bitcoin in your balance sheet or in your reserves, otherwise we won't give you loans anymore. But they're still buying. So, and they're also doing the volcanic mining and other moves to be like definitely supporting Bitcoin at least. But yeah, so for El Salvador, it's super bullish for crypto.
Yeah, I mean, the international mafia fund isn't your friend, so just realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to the United States, because obviously we all renounce U.S. citizenship.
Yeah. True expats.
Very happy.
Great decision.
Yes.
It's the best decision ever. And you can live as a U.S. citizen all over the world without a U.S. passport. You can get other passports. You can get it by descent. Although some countries are cutting down on that, they're making it harder, but you can obviously get citizenship by investment. You can get a golden visa. You can get citizenship in Portugal after 5 years, which, by the way, if you're watching this and you want to get the Portugal golden visa, you should probably do it ASAP. I was talking to basically there's two top CEOs in the citizenship and residency industry. And one of them told me face to face, look, Portugal is going to close this program because way too many people from the third world are gaining access to EU citizenship without actually even living in the EU country. So Portugal is going to be pushed to close it depending on who becomes prime minister next. So if you want to do that program, probably do it ASAP. Yeah. And you can live a great life as a non-US citizen. It's not going to affect you at all. What are your thoughts on Trump, the future of crypto in the US? Obviously, we started off the presidency as, crypto is going to go to the moon. 2025 is going to be the best year ever. And with the tariffs and creating geopolitical tensions, we tanked the market. So tell me a bit of your thoughts.
I mean, I was very, very vocal that we started taking profits about $100,000, and we almost pretty much timed the top of the market so far. But I said that, you know what? No, I don't think this is very bullish that you have Trump in or anybody else in. It doesn't matter. It's like, really doesn't matter. Crypto goes in cycles. So I don't view like Trump as some like bullish thing or even bearish thing. But as far as the tariffs and stuff, like, I mean, I just view him as like, I mean, I could go back in history, whereas he added $6.4 trillion to the debt back in his last presidency. People forgot that he was president before for 4 years, pushed the vax and, did all that other stuff. And I'm like, this guy, he doesn't really, there's plenty of wars going on. He's bombing plenty of countries and I don't know, they're just central bank puppets. Like, I don't care about Trump. I don't really care about Biden. A monkey could be in. It doesn't matter. Mickey Mouse could go into presidency. It would go the same because the same people that have been controlling the U.S. since 1913 are still in power. How can people be fooled this much? It blows my mind. And people are like, oh yeah, he's going to end the Fed. Like, well, first off, the Fed's been around for a very long time. They own really militaries. No, he has zero power. Actually, there was a reporter asking Federal Reserve Jerome Powell, like, hey, if Trump wanted you to leave, would you leave?
He ordered you to leave.
Yeah. He's like, no. And they pretty much laughed it off because they, guess who controls who controls the currency supply controls a nation, and who controls the currency supply? Does Trump do that? No, he doesn't, obviously. So it's the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, it's all the private banks in New York basically are like the ones pulling the strings at the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
And they don't have to answer to anybody. So.
Exactly. So, people are like, he almost got killed one time or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, listen, if the Federal Reserve bombs different countries around the world to preserve the global reserve hegemony of the US dollar, I'm sure they can take out one guy, of course. Like, people have a hard time putting two to two together. But, now with stable coins as well, so Trump's like, hey, we're not going to have a CBDC, central bank digital currencies, not on the table anymore. But let's bring in some stable coin regulations here. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Same with the MiCA regulations in Europe. Like if you read through that, it's supposed to be like the regulatory framework for crypto in Europe. And like the vast majority of that document is talking about stablecoins. And it's because like those are the most disruptive to the current fiat system because it's like it has the stability of fiat, but the capabilities of cryptocurrencies, which is amazing. Except it's like definitely... it would make it very easy for people to completely sidestep banks and their whole purpose. So, yeah, for them to say, we're not going to do a CBDC. They're not going to call it a CBDC.
Yes, they're going to call it a stable coin.
Yeah.
And so...
they are actually still.
Yeah. So that's why they have stable coin regulations. That's why, Circle owns USDC, which, I think BlackRock runs their like a money fund for Circle. And so they have really deep ties with BlackRock. And if you understand BlackRock, you understand that BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, all three of them, they actually own about 22% of the Federal Reserve shares because the Federal Reserve is a private entity. So, yeah, really interesting.
So do you think, so with Trump and crypto.
Sure.
Like obviously that was a election strategy to get votes and to be super pro Bitcoin. Like if anyone saw that video of him trying to he was like at a bar or something and he was trying to pay with Bitcoin. Like someone else, it was like scanning a QR code was what he had to do and he couldn't even manage that. So like that's the level of interest that he's shown in Bitcoin. And now he has like the World Liberty Financial thing that's like a decentralized platform. So
doesn't own any
it's
Bitcoin.
Just a lot of surface level things that people who are not experts in crypto whatsoever, they're just trying to, this happens all the time in every bull market. There's like people that come out of the woodwork claiming to be an expert in crypto, having like a revolutionary new idea, and it's really not, and they'll just as quickly fade into the background. So yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's fundamentals and utility in being a hedge against inflation and being like a clap back to the traditional financial world, that's what's going to ensure its continued success, not anyone who's in office at the time, not any new regulations that come out. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, it may seem like, he's taking back crypto from the SEC or whatever, but in my view, it's all a game. So like during, Biden administration, the SEC really clamped down. So it's governments are famous for this. It's called the Hegelian dialect. It's like problem, reaction, solution. So you have the problem, which is the SEC. You have the reaction, which is like, I'm going to save the world, like Trump comes in and says, I'm going to get rid of the SEC's like power, they're going to be more crypto friendly and solution. And he pulls it off. Does he really pull it off? Because he's not, advocating for self-custody. He doesn't own any Bitcoin in his World Liberty Financial. It's mostly ETH, which is, great, whatever. Yeah, and he pumps out meme coins and stuff. It just, it's kind of a joke to the space right now. So. Yeah. I can keep going on, but whatever. It's just a puppet. I don't hate the guy. Okay.
No, but it's true because a lot of people, whoever you talk about, you're going to anger the other side. And, talking to very high level people, they're saying, look, every single election, the other side leaves. So with the US, I was talking to a US tax lawyer who does renunciations, and they did kind of a mini study in their business of what their political beliefs were of every single person that renounced. And it was on point. Like 2016, it was Democrats who were renouncing. 2020 was Republicans who were renouncing. And now 2025, it's Democrats who are renouncing again. So yeah, people make these huge life decisions on who's president. And
every 4 years it changes.
Yeah, it's kind of nonsense to me. But even, people that are almost billionaires, they make these decisions. So it's quite bizarre.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, because we were talking about regulations, and that is true. Most of the regulations do cover stable coins, which is the case. And you will see that every single time they talk about when a transaction goes out of your account or something, they always use the currency of whatever country is regulating it at the moment. So let's say they say 10,000 euros. They don't use 1 BTC. They don't use 0.1 BTC. So it's very clear they want to control this, let's say, stable money. They don't want to control the BTC. They know it's much harder to control. They know it can be mined as well. So you're right. The stable coins are the true threat here. You can keep them in a hardware wallet and then never use a bank, which it's been my motto for the last couple of years. I just keep money there.
Yeah.
And never actually. So let's talk about wallets, because I've used pretty much every single cold wallet out there. I've ordered many cold wallets. I swap them every 3 to 4 months just to keep them safe. Tell me about your strategy for keeping money safe, for transferring money, because a lot of people say, oh, how do you move large amounts of money? Well, you put it all here, you take a plane, and then you land on the next side. Oh, shit, sorry. And then you land on the next country and you have your 25 million still in your hands. So tell me about your crypto privacy, let's say, holding strategies.
Yeah, nothing makes me more nervous than having too much crypto on an exchange. That's always been my motto for, especially I feel like every year that the crypto exists, it gets a little bit eroded of people's understanding why it was created. Like exchanges are amazing for trading and exchanging. But unfortunately now, I mean, when CZ was in charge of Binance, he had this whole marketing scheme where he was like really pushing you to keep your coins on an exchange, on his exchange, Binance, obviously. And they do that through, you know, staking opportunities, lending opportunity. They call it all staking, where you can earn a passive income if you keep your coins there. And they have all these types of promotional tools, but you should absolutely use a hardware wallet, a cold storage wallet. If you feel like it's over your head, then that should be your goal of mastery, because it is very much worth it. We've been using hardware wallets since we discovered them. That for me, it was like 2015. I think it must have been the same for you. Yeah. We used Ledger for many, many years. And then recently, the types of changes that they were making in their policies really sent up red flags for us. And like, maybe they were being obviously they're being influenced by their governments or whatever, of, you know, like including themselves in the custody of your coins. And that should be like the antithesis of what a hardware wallet company is about. So yeah, Ledger is user friendly. Trezor is also great. That's been that was the one that we officially switched to. Bitbox is another great option too. It's like super sleek looking. It doesn't say Trezor or Ledger. It looks like a USB stick, which is amazing. Yeah. So there's
Cold Card.
Cold Card is Bitcoin only. I've never used it personally, so I can't say how super user friendly it is, but there's lots of options out there. Yeah, it's another thing, you know, the whole the mindset a lot of people have, that we have too, about Bitcoin is like, you buy it and you hold it for like generational wealth or for many, many years. But the reality of a hardware wallet is that they don't always last very long. So that when you're saying you're trading them out every so often, that's probably good too. But yeah, also to make sure that the firmware is up to date, because there are bugs that are introduced. And so people can make sure that the firmware is as secure as possible. So hardware wallets are great. The mindset of long-term holding Bitcoin is good, but you have to keep on top of the maintenance of a hardware wallet. It keeps it fresh in your mind. I know during a bear market, it can last over a year. And then when you get back to like using your hardware wallet, you're like a little bit nervous because it's been a while. And you know, you need to update your firmware. Then that means you have to make sure you have your seed phrase available in case it crashes. Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of techniques of that. And seed phrase storage is another big thing for hardware wallets too, because, you know, you have your device that represents your ownership of the seed phrase, and then you have your actual backup of the actual seed phrase. And there's a ton of tools now too that help you store that really permanently, that are like rust-proof, fireproof, waterproof. CryptoTag is one that comes off the top of my mind, but there's a lot of different options for that.
Just get really creative.
Yeah.
Don't just like put it in a safe.
Yeah.
Please don't put it in a safe.
I mean, there's a balance there too, right? Like, be really creative, but like, don't forget where it is.
Yeah.
Make sure that you can still access it if you need to. I know there's people, you can get real extreme with that mindset too. Like, have a set of words if you travel a lot and you have, you know, places that you know are secure. You can have part of your seed phrase in this country, another part of your seed phrase in that country. But what is the logistics of actually accessing that in time when you need to use it? So there's lots of different options, and you can use different techniques for different crypto what you're planning for. You know, like you have crypto that you're planning to only hold short term to take advantage of the price movements. And then you have the crypto that you're like keeping forever and ever. So
yeah, I would definitely recommend having several hardware wallets, not just one, especially if you're really involved with this space. Mm-hmm. And then like one for trading, and then one for just storage. Like you're not going to touch it.
Yeah.
And then also, you know, a lot of people might think, okay, this is like overwhelming. I don't want to have to remember all this stuff. Well, keep in mind that last bull market, I mean, Heidi and I, you know, we tried our best in this space. We called out BlockFi before it collapsed. We called out Celsius before it collapsed. Heidi made a
first was
pretty
FTX.
Famous video of FTX 2 weeks before it collapsed. and people were giving her so much crap. And then after they collapsed, I mean, our channel really kind of blew up after that. But, you know, so keep in mind that every single bull cycle, we have a tragedy of a centralized exchange, centralized lending platform, whatever, going down, and people are still wanting to get their money back from like even Mount Gox or whatever. Or I think that's already starting to get paid off right now. But like, guys, it's not worth it, especially if you have your life savings in it or something like that.
I mean, that's another slight misconception of people's sense of security of holding their coins on custodial platforms like exchanges, for example, is that if you read their terms and conditions, if you're creating an account there, if you have funds there, you are an unsecured creditor, period. So they will use your funds, to serve them best if need be. But also, the bankruptcy proceedings, sometimes there's clawback claims. So even though you withdrew from that platform like 2-3 months before it collapsed, they could potentially have some legal room to request that money back from you. Yeah. Or also, let's say like an FTX, for example, that one went down basically at the bottom of the bear market. So people had their Bitcoin on FTX or whatever, their crypto on FTX. And it was, let's say you had 10 Bitcoin on FTX. Crazy to have that amount on an exchange. And then for the bankruptcy proceedings, you find out you get the dollar amount, not the crypto amount paid back to you. So you're really not rewarded for keeping your coins on a custodial platform. Yeah. And it's like no one wants to think that, everyone wants to believe that, you know, the platform they're using, they're trusting it. If you didn't trust it, you never put your funds there. So if you're putting your funds there on some level, you want to believe everything's going to be okay, to the point where a lot of people don't want to read the writing on the wall. And so really just try to keep yourself in check of like how much exposure of your assets you're allowing for like counterparty risk. I
should say that like when exchanges do collapse and like FTX collapse, whatever, that is really good for people like us that understand the market, that have our own coins, that have cash, we have taken profit, because we just get to load up on Bitcoin and ETH, like, or whatever, or Monero or anything. It's amazing. And you know, while everybody else is like scrambling and freaking out and, you know, in despair, I mean, this is just what happens, you know, like on any market. So you just take advantage of it and you can really benefit you and your family.
Yeah.
100%. And just to add to that, to the crashes, I remember there was a client of mine who he bought Bitcoin really early on. His net worth before, in his case, it was Terra Luna. His net worth was over $200 million. And he was making, I think, it was like $1 million a week, some stupid, very stupid number. And he was living in Burj Al Arab. He was just living the absolute highest life you can possibly live. And then a couple of weeks later, he was worth 1 point something million.
Wow.
Couldn't get the money out. Like, you know, you can't really do anything if your coin goes to 1 cent. And he was considering offing himself from a guy that was worth hundreds of millions. And then he called me like, look, I was considering letting it all go. And I'm like, you're still a multi-millionaire. And that can happen if you keep your coins in an exchange. And you've been waiting, let's say 10 years for Bitcoin to get to this level. You're now a 100-millionaire and you lose it all because of some little exchange you trusted. So don't be lured in by the high APR, by the high returns, because it's really good until it's not.
Exactly.
So yes, I've seen way too many people like $1 million lost on FTX, talking to personal friends of mine. So not your keys, not your coins. So that's all I believe in. And I like Bitbox. That's a very good suggestion. I didn't even know about that. So let's switch to that.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Which one's going to collapse this time?
We were just talking about that the other day.
Coinbase,
like, what's going to be the moment?
No, I know. I don't know.
Because
I think Sailor's.
Toby's always excited about Sailor potentially getting liquidated and like kind of clearing out his position because the things that he's doing, you know, strategies for buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But like the real, like, what if Coinbase got hacked and like BlackRock's stash of Bitcoin for their ETF got hacked? Like, how amazing, it would be scary, but how amazing would that be to like clear out the institutions again from crypto and like let it kind of return back to like the free market, and
crypto would be a
little
lot
bit.
of fun after that.
It would be a free for all. It would be an absolute free for all. People
Just
would
load
be
the boat.
panicking like crazy, but I mean, I don't know how that would happen.
I literally have a cash position just in case Sailor goes down. Just in case. Would be the best day of my life, I think. Anyways.
Well, what's that phrase? What's that German phrase? Schadenfreude or something, where it's like, yeah, you enjoy the demise of other people.
No, just him. Oh my!
Just
Anybody that's promoting regulation, I don't like in this space. That's all.
Yeah.
And Sailor loves regulation. That's why I don't like him.
Now, one more thing I want to discuss with you: being a U.S. citizen versus not being a U.S. citizen. Obviously, I have my views on it. Life is better on the other side. What's your opinion, and do you have any regrets? Any times you feel like, I wish I still had a U.S. passport? Tell me about your personal experience.
You want to go first?
I mean, like 6 years later, no, I have had zero regret in terms of traveling, in terms of investing, in terms of crypto involvement. There's obviously a huge change, and no matter how long you think about making that decision or you prepare to make that decision, it is a permanent decision, and so it is going to change. Just logistically your life, especially if you are at any point living in the US. But no, I have zero regrets, and it's almost April 15th, and I'm really stoked that I'm not a US citizen, because I don't have to worry about reporting all of my crypto to crypto trades or FACTA. I mean, also like the IRS is a scary entity. And even if you try to be compliant, if you do it wrong, like it can be a very scary moment. And I don't think a lot of US citizens realize the like how that affects their psyche, because I wasn't wealthy by any means when I renounced and when we moved to Portugal, and like at all. And even that, I was so tentative of like making sure that like I felt like I had to constantly be looking over my shoulder, and my lawyer there was constantly reminding me like, listen, this is Portugal. It's not the IRS. Like, if you make a mistake on your tax return, it's like €250, and then you get to refile it again. Like it's okay. And so, yeah, like it is a definite mind shift. And I never felt particularly patriotic to the US or anything in that regard. I was very individualistic. And so that's why I made the decisions that I made. And we've been living in Portugal and traveling the world. And I mean, having a St. Kitts and Nevis passport is a great conversation starter for at the border, or like if you're boarding a plane or whatever, they always are like, oh, what country is this? Oh, it's so pretty. Like it's got like the tropical pages on it and everything. They're like, oh, I've never seen this one before. Yeah.
Say like, oh, this is such a pretty passport. And sometimes if I go to like some offshore haven, they're like, oh, we had a Russian guy with it 3 days ago. And I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you with your...
I mean, I think every week, literally every week, I'm like so thankful. Like no matter like if I'm looking at tariffs happening in the US, like, well, I don't have to deal with any of that. Like being just completely hated around the world now. Like, I mean, because, you know, you have a bully inside the White House that is bullying all these other countries very openly. Yes, they're always bullies, but like, you know, that as well, like, hey, you know, we're not actually US citizens. So it's like, oh, cool. You know, how did you do that or whatever? Then also, you know, we bought real estate around the world. So like in Switzerland, for instance, like opening up a bank account, I literally had to bring my certificate of renouncement, and they had to take a week to make sure that I was not a US citizen before letting me open up a bank account. Then Dubai, opening up our business, like the guy asked me like, hey, are you sure you're not a US citizen? Because it says on my German citizenship that born in the United States. And I'm like, no, I'm not. He's like, okay, sign here. Okay. And then, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Otherwise this would have taken a very, very long time. And it's just time after time. Like US citizens are the most punished Western citizens on the face of the planet, and they love their government. And I think they're one of the only Western countries that truly, truly love and trust, for some reason, their government. It blows my mind. It's the ultimate cognitive dissonance. So yeah.
No regrets.
No regret. Oh, bro, I would do it over and over every day.
Like, I wish I was a U.S. citizen just so I could renounce it all over again.
My goodness, good riddance to that government. I mean, but you know what? The people there are really nice.
Yes,
you know, we have family, we have friends there.
That's the hardest part is the ties that we have. Emotional ties there.
But you know, like I'm gonna help my mom if she needs it. Obviously, I'm there for her. My friends for sure as well. But yeah,
we pretty much act like the carrot of like you know, influencing them to come travel more to visit us. Yeah. So it's cool.
They love it. They really love traveling.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Perfect. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for explaining everything. And I think it's going to be really valuable. If you want to check them out, obviously Crypto Tips. All the links will be in the description as well as in the cards right here. I actively watch your channel, and I remember when Bitcoin slightly crossed over 100,000. I think it went to 102, 103. I messaged you and you sent me an audio like, look, these prices they're very hot right now. It most certainly will go down to like 80s or 70s. So I sold a big position. So thanks to you for that big position.
Congrats, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
I really trust not that many people in the space. People come and go. They start promoting an exchange. The exchange falls and they quickly pivot to, oh, actually, no, I never said that. Let's promote this one. Yeah. So you're the only ones I trust in the space. So.
Thanks, Ralph.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
See you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.